Good evening once again. We're back. We're back again. It's only been a couple of hours since our last interview, which was Thomas and IFR Snipes. With one of our Americans, DJ. How are you doing today, pal?
I'm pretty good, Mazza. How are you? About yourself?
Not bad at all. Thanks for asking me. Not bad at all. And really happy that I was this is the very first interview we're having, which actually third driver, not a kind of standard driver. Obviously, you mentioned maybe a web military, which is absolutely amazing. So I think we all deserve you of that. Why you did ever for some of the TAS reports from last night's race, and so we're going to go into a little bit of detail about that shortly. So first of all, you stepped in last night. How did it go? How did it feel as a third driver last night, pal?
It felt pretty good. I'm always honored, really, to have a spot in the league. To be honest, especially with you staying in the military, so all that good stuff. Honestly, coming into the race, like after 2 months not really playing the game, coming on a track like Hungary, I was not really prepared because Arbar went through craft over. He races in EU2 and AM1. Messaged me an hour before the race. I was like, "Hey man, can you fill in?" I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. Let me go fill in at this track. I'm not really the best at, but jumped in there, started, and got right back into it. Honestly, fairly easy, and the race honestly felt pretty good. Started P13, got up to P4. Could have had the podium. So it was a decent race. I felt pretty good coming into it. I think.
Yeah, I think actually,
Yeah, there we go.
yeah, looking at the report, yeah, I can see you qualified in 13th. So I mean, kind of as a standing driver, as a reserve driver, what do you put that? What bracket do you put that under? Do you put that under a good performance, considering obviously the other guys are practicing probably week in week out. Obviously yourself, you're a very busy guy with your job, etc. So do you put that in the good bracket? Do you think you're still better? What do you feel about the P13 there in quali?
Well, the P13 in quali, like considering the tire choice on the mediums, I think that was good because I'm pretty sure only one other person on the mediums beat me out, and I think that was Andrew. But everybody else in front of me qualified on the softs. So I feel like being P13 on the mediums, it probably isn't too bad. Obviously, a bit more practice, I could have probably, put a better lap in on the mediums and beat out some of those soft guys. But like you said, I sometimes don't have the time, and knowing an hour before you're supposed to race is like, oh, let me jump in the time trial real quick and see what I can do.
Yeah,
So
let's get
yeah.
some setup copying done before the race.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No, that's
But
amazing. And go on.
but with the qualifying, yeah, I was satisfied. I wasn't just last, to be honest.
No. You know what though? I think, like you say, I think what you said there hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think, like in EU3 for my race, I attempted to do the medium qualifying, but I think literally every driver went to the softs pretty much straight away, and I was like so taken back. I was like, wow, no one's really trying the mediums. Maybe one other driver tried the mediums on myself, and because of the difference on the tire advantage from soft to medium so great during quali anyway. It is difficult to then kind of stick to the mediums, but you actually did. So you didn't get kind of sucked in to coming back in and going onto the softs, which is quite difficult. Some people in your position would see themselves as P13. Sat in as a reserve driver. I've got nothing to lose in that respect. Let's just go to the softs. Did that cross your mind?
It did at first. So after I put that lap in on mediums and it was like a 115 something, I was like, oh, I need to be like low 114s, maybe possibly high 13s. But it did cross my mind, and I came in the pits. I was like, well, the soft tires only last for like 5 laps in the race, and me, I'm not the best tire management, so I know once those tires like go away, it's just gonna be I'm just gonna be getting passed left and right. So I was like, I'll go out and do another lap on the mediums. I actually spun on my second lap, so I did just get the one lap in, but it did kind of cross my
Yeah.
mind at first, but I put it in the back of my head fairly quickly.
No, and I think, as I say, it's tough. It really is. It's a hard decision to do what you did. Not many drivers would have done that. I think a lot of drivers would have just thought, nah, I'm gonna go back out on the soft side. But you stuck to your guns, and well, I mean, looking at your race result, it paid off. I mean, from 13th to fourth, that's a cracking race. I mean, again, just to put it into perspective, the guys you're racing along, some of them anyway, will be practicing probably daily,
Yeah.
and you got someone like yourself there doing what you do, coming back an hour before the race, going, look, can you come in and race? And you qualify P13 on the mediums and finish fourth. I mean, you must have been impressed with that.
I was very, very impressed. I said this during season 5. I raced AM2, and like I was very, very competitive in that tier, and I finished third in the drivers championship for that season. And then season 6, I obviously got moved up to AM1, and I was just aliens everywhere in AM1, everywhere for that. To be honest, I was just battling for 10th every race. So like it's at that point, like it's always good to be like striving for points. But me personally, if I'm not winning or getting at least podiums, I'm not satisfied. So I was just like, it was just such a struggle. So coming back in AM2 even just as a reserve driver, I felt like I had a lot of confidence. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
no matter what, I think I can race to the front, no matter where I qualify or whatever it is, because just confidence in general can take you a long way, in my opinion.
Nah, I completely agree. I mean, I'll be the first to admit when I first started at COS, which might have been season 4, if memory serves, I would get so nervous. I would have maybe a good qualifying, and I would sit there on the grid before the start of the race, and my hands would go weak, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing?" And it really affected my race. I'd make silly mistakes going around basic corners just because I felt so weak in my hands. So I suppose to have that confidence that you have is actually it's a really, really positive kind of like personality to have in terms of driving in this game, because a lot of people I imagine are maybe like myself where you get a little bit nervous going into turn one, etc., until it kind of settles down. But for you, you say you're full of confidence, and I suppose that's I say it's really, really good to have. So that it's definitely paid off here. Um, Now, obviously, one of the things I picked up there as well is I think you finished the race on 6 seconds of penalties. Is that right?
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah.
No, to be fair, mate, I think I finished on 6 seconds myself, funnily enough. And it's a tough track not to get penalties on, especially when you're pushing. And you obviously did push because, I mean, 13th to 4th. So you did obviously push quite a lot. And I don't think 6 seconds is too bad. I mean, obviously, was there any point when you was kind of getting these warnings, and obviously the first one comes through, you kind of let it go. You think, right, just don't do it again. And your second one comes through, and you go, oh no. And then that all important third one comes through, you go, oh no, not the first penalty. So when them penalties kind of start coming in, do you did you change your approach at all in terms of how you was driving? Did you think to yourself, right, look, obviously I've got a good position. Obviously, you would have been at different positions at each warning, of course, but you was in a good position. You was on the mediums and then onto the hards. Did you kind of change your approach? Did you change your driving style? Did anything alter really when them penalties started coming through?
So I use my penalties. Like, so if I get like one penalty, I like that's a reset. Okay, boom, I got 3 more until I can get another penalty. And like track like Hungary, it does happen. Everybody kind of gets them. Um, for me, like I just kind of they frustrate me, but I don't really change my driving style. No, I just kind of penalties are penalties. It is what it is. It's part of the game. I honestly hate the strict rules in this game in F1
Mhm.
2020. Like it is just such a like you watch real life F1 drivers run wide, and you're like, I can't do that in my Formula One game, or else I'm going to lose. But But me personally, no, I don't. It don't really affect me because if I feel like if I can finish well enough on track, no matter where penalties take me to, I feel like that's an accomplishment. So like
It's good.
if I can like if I got like 20 seconds worth of penalties and I'm P1 and the dude behind me is like 1 second off of me, but he's got no penalties, obviously he's going to win the race. But even
Yeah.
then, like me having all those penalties didn't really affect the race that much because he's still like behind me and
Hmm.
I win the race on track. And like, so no, it don't, penalties don't really bother me. They bother me, but they don't affect how I drive throughout the race.
Of course. And again, good to hear. It's a nice way to look at it. I think I get angry with myself when I do it, and I think it does actually affect my race. You know, when that first kind of penalty comes through, and you kind of think, right, because every race, I'm sure every driver goes, right, no penalties, no penalties, no penalties, especially around tracks like
Hmm.
Hungary. So when my first one kind of comes through, I'm like, damn, what have you done, man? Stop being an idiot, basically. And sometimes it can impact you. But I do a little bit of a reset like yourself. I get that third one and go, you know what? I've got it now. Other people have got them. Let's just reset and restart. So I think I have the same kind of outlook as you. So a very positive outlook to having that side of things as well. Kind of last thing on Hungary. I mean, obviously, in terms of the whole race, we had no safety cars. I think we had one VSC, which doesn't really change much, to be honest. But one thing that really did stand out about your race was your overtakes. Now, I know on the task system, it will pick up overtakes with people in the pits, but I mean, let's not take it away from you. You had 24 overtakes in that race. That's just
Yes.
ridiculous. We
I
had
think,
in, well, as an example, to put it into perspective, again, Mr. Prentice from EU3 might correct me here, but I believe he started P19 and also finished P4 and only had, I think it was 19 overtakes. You may correct me. It's in my first interview with Jay Prentice, so you may correct me, but that is just ridiculous.
yeah, well, like starting in P13 and everybody on front of you, pretty much everybody in front of you is on the softs. So like, you're on the medium tires, their tires are going to like go way faster. So like they're
Hmm.
struggling, but yet they don't want to pit. So you're
Hmm.
passing those guys. Like I think I made like 4 or 5 passes
Yeah.
before people started pitting, and then there toward the end of my first stint, before I went on to the hard running P1.
Uh-huh.
So like I passed from P13 all the way to P1, and then I stayed out probably a bit too long on the mediums, but
Aye.
then once I pitted, I was like 10th maybe. So then I had to drive back up through the field, obviously on the fresher
Yeah.
hard tires. So everybody's got worn tires. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of on track overtakes. I will say that some of them were in the pit. There was quite a few on track.
And there you go. Anyone who's listening, if you haven't yet tuned in to watch AM2's race, myself included, tune in. Tune in on if you got a day off, if you're working in an office job or working from home, just flick it on in the background and have a watch because to be fair, it does sound quite action packed in terms of overtakes. So there you go. Now, obviously, as a reserve driver, we haven't really got much going in terms of obviously Spa. You didn't race at Spa, and obviously it's going to be, as you say, last minute kind of notifications to say, look, DK, can you drive? So we can't really say too much on kind of goals and ambitions, of course, about in the overall season. It's going to be a case of when you do get the opportunity to drive, it's just going to be a case of doing your best, I imagine.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you've been in AM2 before. You went to AM1, back to AM2 as a reserve. And again, I know you're not driving week in, week out, but if you get any rivalries, if you get any, if you get any guys there who are, slipping the banter, is there anybody when you do fill in that you want to beat more than anyone else?
I would say comparing to season 6 AM2 field and the current AM2 field, I would say probably one of the guys I probably want to beat every week is probably Andrew. He was one of the dudes. So I commentated AM2 for season 6, and
Right,
he was one of the guys that was like always consistently up front. And now
right.
he's like one of the, I guess you could say, veterans at AM2. So I would say
Hmm.
beating him probably would make me. That'd be one of my goals. Plus, I'm driving too. I feel like wanting to finish on the podium because knowing I can,
Yeah,
is probably another goal I would have if I'm racing.
And that's it, and that's what we want to hear. We want to hear goals. So obviously your goals, beat Andrew, get on the podium. That's what we want to see. That's what we want to hear. So Andrew, if you're listening, there you go. The challenge has been set. Every time DK gets a drive, we're going to be watching that battle. So keep an eye on that, everyone. So I think obviously off the back of everything that we discussed, first and foremost, it's again, I know I'm repeating myself, but it's nice to have someone like yourself doing what you do, kind of joining the COS community and, racing when you can. You've got big commitments in your life and you come and race when you can, which is fantastic. And you obviously commentate, as you mentioned, last season as well. So, the commitment and the effort that you throw into it is amazing to see. Obviously, we want to see you on track as much as we possibly can. So hopefully there'll be a couple more chances of seeing you this season. Hopefully we'll have you back in a bit more of a full-time role in the future. We'll see what happens. But for tonight, is there anything else you would like to say? Is there anybody out there you want to send a message to? Is there anything you want to say to anybody at all before we close it for the night?
I was gonna say to all the admins out there, I know like you said, like with my job and not always being available. I did race full time for season 4, 5, and 6,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the first season I've had to miss for something. But like it's so like all the admins are very understandable and always made sure I would be involved in the league and had a spot. So just thank you to all the admins out there, I guess, for keeping somebody like me who's not, I guess you can say, I'm reliable, but my job kind of dictates what I can do and can't do, and sometimes I can change on like a short notice. So just thank you to all the
Yeah.
admins for being understandable and stuff. That's yeah.
Nice words spoken, mate. And as I say, I'm sure the admins will fully appreciate your words there. And I'm sure on the flip side, that'll be reciprocated. As I say, we appreciate what you do, and I'm sure the American people appreciate what you do. So keep
I
on
hope
doing
so
what you
at
do.
least.
I'm sure they will, mate. But ultimately, mate, you keep safe, look after yourself, and we will look forward to seeing you on track, hopefully sooner rather than later. And if any of the admins are listening, drop him a like, drop him a quick heads up on the COS podcast page when I post this interview. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Have a lovely evening. Take care, stay safe, and thank you very much for joining us tonight.